So for anybody in the XRP community, something rather interesting just happened over the past hour or so, and I'm personally not really saddened by it. I don't think this is something bad at all, but some community members are making it a very big deal. Mostly, I think it's just fake. I think it's just made to stir people up, get them maybe to sell. But because I'm a news channel here, I have to keep everybody informed with what is going on. And so even though I don't really want to give this type of stuff attention at all, I do think it's worth covering, partially because what if there is truth in there, but more importantly because at the end of the day, I want y'all to be informed, even though the news is not so nice. So again, I'm just quickly putting up here that this is just what's going around. Not that important in my opinion, but a big deal if it were true. So the last, let's call it 2 hours or so, there's a crazy amount of FUD going around. For the most part, people are just sad they missed the run on XRP. That's been, primarily the topic of today. But throughout the last hour and a half or so, a report came out by the Unchained podcast, and it says, 𝗎𝗓, Donald Trump allegedly told Ripple, "You guys made this amount of money last year, and you're going to make so much more now because of me, but when I needed you, where the frick were you? You weren't with me, and maybe you are with Kamala Harris." So that is, again, a report in Axios on Wednesday, quoted Trump telling a representative of an unidentified company, yada, yada, yada. Two sources told Unchained that the conversation was with representatives of Ripple. The Axios story did not name Ripple or say when the conversation took place, but it's basically just stated that this would have probably happened because Ripple's co-founder Chris Larsen donated millions to PAC supporting Kamala Harris. And I'll quickly state, I don't necessarily believe this is true. Mostly that Trump would have said that, right? It could be that in his head he's angry, but then again, I was a little bit early today thinking of the fact that Chris Larsen is never in the pictures. Maybe he's not really the best friends with Trump or something like that. But ultimately, Ripple and Trump are extremely good. They donated $5 million to his inauguration fund. They just had a dinner a few days ago. So I don't know, man. I think this is just taken out of a crazy hat of somebody who just has a very wild imagination. Obviously, it's possible that it actually happened, but then again, does it really make a lot of sense? And to note on that, Mason also said Chris Larsen donating millions of dollars in XRP to Kamala, which, by the way, as far as I understand, was a personal choice, as they did also send money to Trump. They basically bet on both sides. Could turn out to be the worst mistake for Ripple ever, moron. And my counter to that is, and this is controversial, but I will say this, right? If you know anything about politics at all, you know that it's quite nuanced. It's not necessarily black and white. And what I mean with that is, even if you put some eggs in one basket on the left side, for example, it's actually always wise to put some eggs into the other basket, because there'll never be a party, unless you're your own party, but even then, that represents you fully. There'll never be a president that does only good things, so to speak, for your own interest. And there's also a difference between what is good for your company and where your personal values lie, right? You may, for example, as a person, really like Trump's policies, but for your finance, no, okay, the opposite way I should say it. Maybe you really like Kamala for her policies. Maybe, right? Just maybe. But you really think Trump is going to get your crypto backs to pump more. So you go for Trump. But then again, for a lot of the policies, you might have not agreed. Could be. Why not in that instance, right? If there's a debate, or if you're a company that just wants to win regardless, and you've got money to spare on it, just send money to both sides. At least you're always in their good visor. You're always in the good part of their mind. So from that perspective, and that's what a commenter here also said under Mason's post, saying that, right here, we got it. Trump would have played both sides himself as well. I think Trump is also good enough a businessman to know that even if somebody puts money towards the other side, it's just business. It's literally just business. And even if it's personal, that ultimately also is just business. But anyway, after that, the price has been dropping at least a little bit ever since it hit $3.40. And it made me think, man, there's some people out there who are really right now thinking, this is it. This is where things start crumbling down. And you want to know a fun thing? When XRP hit $2.90, a lot of people thought, oh, the moment it dropped back to $2, this was awful, that the run was over, it's going to go back to $1. If I look back at the comment section, I'd say that more people, No, I can't say more people. I'd say a small percentage of people still, because whenever I did polls, people were mostly optimistic. But there was a good amount of people that were saying, when we went back to like $2 some, that $1 below was going to happen quickly afterwards. And again, even though we went down like 33% or so from that bottom, right, we're up a tremendous amount. Matter of fact, we actually almost doubled from that bottom in just a few weeks. And it makes me think of, first of all, if you want to trade, make sure you check out Blowfin. I've left a link to that down below. But it makes me think of this post. Let me quickly find it, if I can quickly check it out. So there's two. There's three. You know what? Let's cover all three. So one is Brian, one of my good friends, said, in less than a week, Trump is going to lead the most pro-crypto government the world has ever seen, and 90% of the retail is still not ready yet for what will happen next. So I'll quickly state there that I'm thinking, man, people are really underestimating just how big a deal it is that Trump is so bullish on this crypto market. I don't know why I'd be thinking that the market's going to go down in the next few months. Not days or weeks. You know, bad things can happen on shorter terms. But that longer term, I don't know, man. I feel as if you're bearish right here, that's like illegal. And then again, specifically for US-based coins, I don't know why XRP wasn't in this list, but HBAR, Solana, a lot of coins in that nature are in a very, very good spot right here. I think Algorand also. And I kind of feel as if what happened here with Based is kind of going to happen to a lot of people again as well. What basically is, if we look, he said, man, I'm pissed I missed XRP. He said that on, let's quickly take a look at this. Let me quickly scroll through. He said that on November 13th, right? So November 13th, just to put it into perspective, the XRP price went from, I don't even know what exact price it was at, but basically on November 13th, the price went from 50 cents to 70 cents. He was angry that he missed it. A lot of people were that. And then a lot of people did not buy in because they thought, oh, you know what? It's actually way too high. You can see we have limit orders all the way back towards 57 because when the rise was going up, we kind of were like, you know what? That's what we were drawn in right there. We might see another bounce downwards of sorts to buy back in. These are all the most important resistances and supports. I want to buy at those levels. But we just kept on gaining, kept on gaining, kept on gaining. It just kept going through. Those orders never got filled. And again, we were buying a lot at the dollar mark. You can see right here. We basically bought right here as well. And we bought throughout that period of time. But regardless, that's the most important thing right now. Every single time here, there were a lot of people who thought, nah, this is not gonna last. Or every single time the price came down, they say, you know what, this is where we start going on a new descent. And then even though that might have been true for a while, for example, here we peaked at $1.26, went as low as $1 again. So 26 cents down, 26% down, or I would say 20% down or so, before blasting up again. And sometimes, right, throughout this period as well, it didn't really give you that much time. I mean, from this peak here, it was the 23rd, to, again, where it broke through, it was the 29th. There was 6 days where you could have basically rested your head and bought a little bit cheaper from 160 to 130 before it moved back up and went even crazier. And I guess only since it hit $2.90, that was on December 3rd. Only, I guess, from December 3rd up to now, basically. So I'm going to say about a month or so, a month and a half-ish. You could have basically bought at the cheap price for because we were kind of going sideways. We had a little short-term downtrend going. But if you think about it, this has been the only breather for XRP basically since, I'm going to call it, since November 6th. So it was one full month of crazy gaining, all gas, no brakes, no real opportunities to buy the dip. Really, right? There were a few where, again, the price just went down so much in just a few hours here, 13% within a few hours, and like I just told you, 20% right there. But that is all in a snap, right? And a lot of people like to make decisions based on multiple days or multiple weeks, and that's, again, what the last few weeks were for. But previously, it didn't really happen, and that's why we recently here said again that I would personally like to buy when we're back at like the $2.70 range, probably go a bit crazy. And here we're still relatively quite high, but that's to get ourselves a better entry that this is a bad price, right? Not for just getting started. If I had $0 right now, I'd still just buy in and just try to buy back lower and lower and lower to get my average price in a better spot. But I'd still probably buy in because I couldn't handle the thought that I miss out on the run completely. And it's like this right here, right? Being right with no size is the same as being wrong in the sense that if you're watching it, but you've got $0 in it, there's absolutely no fun. Now, the counter is, it's also good to orient yourself on these things. And if you've got no money to play with or to trade with, then yeah, there's not that much you can do. But for me, man, I hate it more if the coin I really thought was going to do well ends up doing well and I didn't have money in it or just very, very little amounts, which is why I said I already made the video, but I kind of noticed all this FUD and I want to make a quick video first. So this video is coming out before the other video I just made. But in that video, I'm basically stating the same, where right now I'm just going to be sizing up my trades quite significantly because we're playing around with good sums of money. Sure, right here we have, let's call it $250,000. Let's call it $250,000 worth of trades open. On Bybit we have, I think, also a little bit more than that actually, but we have a good amount of trades open. This trade right here is still in $70,000 worth of profit almost, and even on Blowfin I think we're doing quite okay. It's not interesting enough. I want to up the game significantly, but for that reason I'm going to have to stay a lot more committed because at that point also it's going to take a bit more time. But ultimately, I kind of do it already. It's just not really on the stream account like that because it's just a bit different. The way I always make these trades is that they're really kind of enterable for most people watching. Not everybody has $16,000 to open a $160,000 trade with. I get that. But I've noticed from the people that do trade, most people have at least a good chunk to follow along relatively with what I'm doing. I'm not saying you should. This is not financial advice. I'm just saying that I thought it was always kind of like relatable, etc. But now I'm thinking, no, it's actually, I think, way more interesting for myself as well. If I'm actually watching this, realize this. You got to understand. Most of my portfolio is XRP. So my portfolio is going up regardless. It's just more fun to watch it in these positions rather than just in spot. So I'm thinking, since I have so many dollars just doing nothing anyway, still, I was going to wait for a crazy dip. I can also kind of like follow my own advice more, which again is not financial advice, but it's basically, I can enter anywhere like I just did today at a too high price, but I don't care. If we go back down a lot, I'll just buy more and more and more so that on the upswing again, we just cash out hard. And this time you'll also see me cashing out more. Right now, again, you can see we're in $35,000 worth of profit. This was $43,000, I think, earlier today, but I just kept it open too long. But I'm also be cashing out significantly throughout the midst, mostly just on big impulses like, for example, we saw the $3.40 and things of that sort. Instead of cashing out the whole position at once, I'm going to be scaling out more. Even right here, I could just sell a good chunk just to cash in whatever amount of margin we put in initially, but I kind of think that's a bit boring. Now I want to make sure it's basically at tops again. But then again, I will admit that XRP still right now as it stands is quite high. And so if you're witnessing life-changing amounts of gains, hey, it might be worth it to change your life like I always say. But then again, with Trump coming in just a few days, it's now the 17th already, man. Things are starting to move quick. And even though more and more volatility as we get closer and closer to Trump coming in, I also keep reaffirming for myself that this is just the start of a whole new chapter of just craziness. All this fear, man, they're trying to make you sell, but who gives a crap, right? They won't get me to sell. Even if I look at the price tomorrow at $3 too or whatever, I won't be mad. Nah, it's all part of the game. It is what it is, but I know where we're headed. Yeah, that's about it for this little crypto update. If you want to make sure you're always notified whenever something crazy happens, put that notification bell on, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto update.